this is the first round of cards I made using scraps and extra cuts, die cuts, things I've colored over the past year and a half. And so I think it's going to be 3 videos because I still have a couple of ideas for a few things I have left, and I just kind of want to make it as done as possible before I deal with what's left. And so I think it's going to be 3 videos, and I think it's going to be a lot of cards. So I'm going to go into kind of the pieces that I had and kind of my thought process in doing these types of cards. So when I did my son's graduation card, I used a quad stencil from Tailored Expressions. And so that's a stencil that you stencil, I think there's 4 stencils, 3 or 4 stencils in it, and you do a different color, or you might use paste, and then it builds and creates 4 different panels that you can then use for cards. So I used the one that was more graduation. It had graduation caps, and I used that as a graduation card for my son. And then I was left with the 3 other pieces. And since I had used sort of the school colors, it was like, what do I do? So this is what I did. This right here, actually I had this already cut and colored from another project. So I had this whole stamp set. I think there's 3 or 4 of these cute little pops. This is from the Not Too Shabby shop. And I stamped them, colored them all. I put them all on cards, except I think I had one left over. And that just kind of went in my little scrap little box. And I then had this left over from something else. This is one of those ones that you stamp one time and then you cut them all out with one die and you get a bunch of sentiments. And so it just happened to work really well for this card. So I did that. This one also, I had these 2 pieces from a virtual retreat that I'd done with La La Land Crafts already done, and I used them here. And then this right here is something that I stamped. This is a really old stamp from Tailored Expressions, and I stamped that right there for this card. And I had all of these pieces already done, so that was amazing. This one right here, I actually had the goat and the present already done, and then I just found the stamp set that goes with this. It's Lawn Fawn, and then I just stamped that sentiment right there, and then I used silver paper for all 3 cards. And so you can see that one I used a ton of the stuff from my scrap bin. Okay, so I'll do this one right here. So this one, almost all the pieces came from my scrap bin. I actually don't even have a stamp anymore. I think I destashed it, but I still had these 2 that I had stamped and colored and die cut. And then this was from, I don't know what, but it was in there. This cut piece is a Lawn Fawn die. It's one of those like full cover dies. And so I already had this in my stash as well. And so I used all those pieces. I just backed it with some black cardstock. So that one was like a complete, already done, card. This one right here was another one that was, all I added was the pattern paper. So these pieces right here came from Spellbinder's Virtual Retreat, The Weekender. You'll see a lot of rainbows because I cut a lot of rainbows from that class, and so I try to use them in different ways, and you'll see that. And then this butterfly I had already in my stash, and this as well. These are Pink Fresh Studio. And I think I also had this sentiment as well. So a lot of pieces that came from my scrap bin. This one right here is another one where everything came from the scrap bin. Every piece came from it, except for, I think even the red cardstock might have even been in there too. So this was something that I had colored in a class with La La Land Crafts, and I had actually done 2 of them. One of them went on a project that we did in class, and then the other one went in my scrap bin to be used later, and then I never used it. So all of it, even this little piece right here, all came from my little scrap bin. And then this piece, this right here, I actually had this stamp set and die from Pink and Maine. Colored it in. I was going to do it all into beads, and then I didn't do it. And so it was just sitting in there this whole time. And then this piece right here is from another like virtual retreat. I think it went with some strawberries or something. And then this piece right here, just this piece, was from Pink Fresh Studio, and I had cut a bunch of things for a class. We had gotten this die, and this piece itself I had not used. And then this piece right here is actually from a die that I had used the outside of it, like an arch die, but I used this inside piece that was left over to be my tag to pull up my die. So, and then I just made one of these little cute little cards. And this is a sentiment from, I think, Lawn Fawn. I used some gold paint, and Buzzing By to Say Hi was also in there in my little scrap bin. So that was fun. And then I used another quad die. This was a while ago. I had a little pen pal from Tailored Expressions, and she was not in this quad club that I was in, where every month you got a different quad stencil, and one of the months was a sunflower one. And so I had done the stencil, and I made a card with one of the sunflowers. So I had these 3 other panels left, and so this is what I did with them. So I have this panel. It was already done. I think I might have done the gold paint. I think this is watercolor paint, and I did it on all the panels. And then I did have this butterfly in my stash, and I also had this sentiment. And then this one right here, I had this little piece, colors, one of my favorite stamp sets. There's 2 bear ones. I don't know if it's 2 bear ones or 1 bear one from the Not Too Shabby shop that I absolutely love. And so this is one of them, and I had this colored out, and I had it all ready to go for a card, but I guess I just didn't make a card, so it went on this one, and it just goes so well. It just really worked. And then this sentiment also was in my stash as well, like already cut and ready to go. When I say in my stash, I meant ready to go, like in this, like these bins I have of things that I've already prepared to put on cards and then just never did. That's what that is. And then this one right here, all I did was add one of these little butterflies that I had for this card, and I backed it all on gold cardstock, and I splattered it with gold paint just to kind of tie it all together. And then these 2 pieces right here, these little hippos, I had them colored in a class that I did with Lawline Crafts, and this oval and this piece right here I also had in my little stash bin. So all I did was find the stamp set for this, and I actually used that stamp set to stamp the sentiments. And this paper is a Doodlebug 4th of July paper that I used, and I made a little Z-fold card. And so quite a few pieces then came from my little stash bin, and I was able to make some really cute cards. Now these 3 cards, what I had, I'll go for each one so you can see what I did. So for these cards, I had this piece right here. It was stamped but not colored. So I went ahead and I colored it. And then I had this outline mushroom. So I took the mushroom and I stuck it on another piece of this Alice in Wonderland paper from Lawland Crafts, and I glued it on that paper and then cut around it so that it would have this inside of it. This little blue piece was also from Lawland Crafts, and I had this piece, you'll see it in 3 different I think I cut it 4 times. So I have a bunch of these extras from a class that I did, Alice in Wonderland class. And so within that paper pack that I had little scraps of paper that I pieced together for the background. And then I went ahead and I stamped a sentiment. But a lot of these pieces came from that stash bin. And then this one right here, I stamped this and cut it out to go with this card. But I pieced together a bunch of scrap, and this was in my scrap bin, as well as these chess pieces and this little flamingo. This piece right here, that was all in my stash bin. I used all those pieces. All I did was stamp a sentiment, and I also did this card and added that to make a card. And I love it. It just, these all came together. So with this one, the only thing that I had to get for this card was this little strip of paper that is really a scrap, and then the sentiment. Everything else was already in my scrap bin, ready to go. So this was already colored, and I had these little pieces, and so I used it for this card. And it's crazy how all of these cards just came together. I mean, I've been working on them, in the middle of a bunch of other things that I'm doing, but there are 2 more videos because this was a lot of cards, and they're all like random from all different companies using all different types of stuff. And so it's really fun to kind of do something like this. Anyway, thank you for watching. This is Cindy Create the Heart.